It's Thursday, August 22nd, 2019, and this is Globespan 24x7 News. My name is Samuel Sugnadin, coming to you live from Georgetown, Guyana. Here are the major headlines for today. PPP says elections can be held in October with claims and objections. The blacklist vendor stabbed to death, husband attempts suicide. Food prices increased by 8.6%, according to the mid-year financial report. CHNPA working to address backlog of house lots, says CEO, and Linden Hospital complex to offer dialysis treatment soon. We begin tonight's newscast by telling you that President David Granger this morning attended the viewing of the body of the late Constable Winston Cooper, former member of the Presidential Guard, at the Lycan Funeral Parlor. President Granger had called for an inquiry into the death of Constable 2045 Cooper during a visit to his East Rhinebelt Georgetown home after learning of his death on August 14, 2019. President Granger empathized with Cooper's grieving mother, Lorraine Peters, and other relatives. The 32-year-old Presidential Guard died after a few weeks of hospitalization. He was found unconscious opposite the National Gymnasium by first responders of the Ghana Fire Service on July 1, 2019, and was rushed to the Georgetown Public Hospital Corporation. The opposition People's Progressive Party Civic, PPPC, remains firm on its position that it does not support the current house-to-house registration exercise. As such, the party is now making calls for GCOM to go to claims and objections, as they believe once this process is embarked upon, elections could be held in October of this year. More in this report.
So we believe if the GCOM goes immediately to claims and objection period, to allow those who, the few thousand who new registrants of this 270,000, maybe 3,000 of them would first-time registrants to register, plus the others who would not registered around the country. And you move immediately to that, and then you can achieve. I've seen the timeline. You can achieve if you do that now. Like say they start on Monday with the claims and objection, you could easily, or even by Wednesday if they have time, they need to prepare. You can achieve end October.
That was Opposition Leader and General Secretary of the PPPC, Barrett Jagdeo, addressing the media. Jagdeo feels that GCOM should move to the claims and objections period now. He said this will ensure that there is a national register and will allow for the eventual extraction of names to create a new voters list. The former head of state reiterated his party's position on the house-to-house registration exercise.
Activity should have been brought to halt immediately, because that is what they set out to do, to re-register everybody and create a new list. And you cannot do that now. They should have stopped it. But they keep persisting and argue now that, oh, we've already done 270,000 people register there. So if you register of the 270,000, 265,000 were registered before. It's a total waste of time.
In the meantime, President David Granger has said repeatedly that he cannot name a date for elections unless GCOM so advises him on a time frame. Yesterday, all 6 GCOM commissioners met with GCOM Chair Claudette Singh. During that meeting, the written judgment on the house-to-house registration exercise was discussed. So far, all of the commissioners, those appointed by government, and the opposition seems tight-lipped about the outcome of that meeting. And Jagdeo is not willing to say what was discussed either, based on the information that he was given by those commissioners appointed by his party.
I don't think they really had an opportunity. I don't want to talk about what took place at the meeting because I think all the parties, they did not hear in the discussion.
The commission will meet again tomorrow. For Globespan 24x7 News, I'm Samuel Sugnandan. A joint memorandum of understanding will be signed on August 30 between the Natural Resources Ministry and the Pesticides Control Board, the Environmental Protection Agency, and the Ghana Geology and Mines Commission regarding the importation of mercury. Kipani Jordan has that report.
Natural Resources Minister Raphael Trotman said mercury importation now has stricter measures as the country is moving to use less mercury in its mining operations.
How is it going to affect is that I think only in a positive way. We've been seeing requests for importation, and I often say that last year I refused to give permission for 30,000 kilograms of mercury to be imported from Mexico. I wondered what would one want with 30,000 kilograms of mercury. That's one importer. There are multiple importers. We have some reason to believe that some of it is moved across borders.
The EPA, GGMC, and Pesticides Control Board will be clamping down on these imports both legally and illegally. Trotman further explained that the ministry will ensure there is a limited amount imported at all times. Miners will now have to give an account for what mercury is used for, who is using it, how it's being disposed, and how much of it is being used. Since the refusal of requests for large amounts of mercury intended to be imported in 2018, many persons have not come forward, but stricter measures have been since implemented, keeping in mind the safety of the environment and its inhabitants.
As you know, His Excellency President Bridger in 2017 represented Guyana at the first conference of parties in Switzerland and the Minamata Convention, and he gave strong commitments. Guyana has received kudos for the strides made with being, in fact, named to the planning committee for the third conference, which is going to be held this November in Switzerland again. And we have worked out protocols dealing with importation, storage, use, and disposal of mercury.
For Globespan 24x7 News, I am Kipani Jordan.
Thanks, Kipani. Data produced in the Ministry of Finance mid-year report for the 2019 year shows an increase in food prices, which one financial analyst says should be a cause for worry. We find out more in this report. Food prices in Guyana have increased by 8.6% over the past year from June 2018 to June 2019, according to statistics printed in the Ministry of Finance mid-year report for 2019. US-based Guyanese financial analyst Narayan Singh feels this is a serious issue, especially given the fact that the report also points to a 2.7% increase in cost of living in the country.
This raises serious concerns for me as an analyst about the nutritional impact on the poor and the working class in Guyana. Because if the cost of chicken increases, if the cost of valuable nutritional food increases by 8.6%, but people did not get that kind of salary increase in real wages, plus there's other things demanding pieces of their wages, such as transportation costs, electricity costs, all these other costs, then people will have to cut corners on their food intake.
Asked what he thinks might have led to this issue, Singh, a former AFC member, said the main reason for that is because government failed to have an appropriate policy action to deal with this situation.
We can take local policy action on two fronts to help contain expansion in food costs. Now, food production in Guyana is driven by two main inputs. Of course, seedlings is a very important input, but outside of seedling, there's two important inputs that are needed. One is fertilizer, and the second one is gasoline, diesel. All farmers use diesel in a big way. Now, any caring government would have provided some level of subsidy, even if it is for small scale cash crop production, small scale chicken production, targeted sectors that will directly reduce the cost of food that the ordinary man consume the most.
The financial analyst said another way in which the government could have offered some relief is by offering cash rebates, vouchers to mothers and the poor.
so that they can use those funds to buy locally made milk, local meat, local fruits, local vegetables, local rice. So it kind of creates a local economic impetus into the economy. Now, that is one way you could have done this by dealing with the fertilizer angle. The second way you can deal with it is by reducing the excise tax on diesel, because most farmers use diesel rather than gasoline.
Singh feels that the rise in cost of living and prices of food should be a major concern for the government and should not be taken lightly. Although Guyana has recorded an increase in economic growth in the past 6 months, which is heavily due to the oil and gas sector, analysts and economists like Singh feels it is not something to be proud of because figures have shown a decline in the traditional sectors in Guyana. For Globespan 24x7 News, I'm Samuel Suknandon. The Central Planning and Housing Authority is working towards clearing the backlog of housing applications. This is according to the Chief Executive Officer Lee Lon Sol, who stated that provisions are being made so that Guyanese who have applied for their own house lots receive their share. The CEO revealed that there are over 25,500 active applicants, and persons who applied before 2015 will be prioritized, with the others being processed in chronological order. From the GLSC, lands will be developed in Bartica, Amelia's Ward, Wisrock, and Kokwani. Lands will also be developed in Methamir Zorg, Labon Intention, Vigilance Monrepo, Experiment and Ordnance Fortlands. According to Sol, this process will be completed with the help of the Guyana Lands and Surveys Commission and the National Industrial and Commercial Investments Limited. Sol also stressed that persons who are already homeowners should not apply but allow other citizens the opportunity at owning their own home. A Nabaclis East Coast Demerara vendor was yesterday brutally stabbed to death by her husband, who acted based on rumors of her being unfaithful. The husband, who attempted to take his own life moments after, is presently under police guard at the Georgetown Public Hospital. Shakima Day has that report.
News of the murder and attempted suicide sent shockwaves throughout the country and the quiet village of Nabaclis on the east coast of Demerara. The dead woman, identified as 44-year-old Vanette James, was reportedly stabbed several times about her body by her husband of 28 years, Sherlock James, who soon after attempted suicide. The incident took place at their Lot 68 Nabaclis Sideline Dam home at around 12:50 hours on Wednesday. Globespan 24x7 News understands that the husband, who works in the interior, acted on information he received about his wife's alleged infidelity. The sister of the now dead woman was still in a state of shock and disbelief as she described her brother-in-law as a quiet individual who was always easygoing.
8 children together, never really had no problem like they say. We never really see nothing like this. Lome was an easygoing person. We never knew he was a person like this. Always a family man, always taking care of his family. I know that for sure. But we never see like this. We know what really take place or what really go on.
The woman described her sister as a mirror of her husband, quiet and family-oriented.
Same thing, easygoing. Those were two couples we know that never really had no problem. Well, every home does get a little thing on that, but never to this extreme, never to this problem. We know nothing about this.
Despite the family's report, persons from the community said that they had marital problems and recalled the victim making several complaints against her husband. Residents were outraged that no one acted on her complaints and only responded to calls when it was too late.
Well, like she been and made some complaint or whatever, you know, but nobody haven't gone there. That's what they showed me. Yeah. No, but then social worker for understand that because them things happen too frequent in the country. See? No man them make report and police now go do nothing about it. Wait till woman and get killed.
According to a police report, on August 18th,
The two had an argument where he assaulted the woman and fled the scene. He returned home on Wednesday and was met with his wife throwing out his clothing. He demanded that she stopped and threatened to kill her. When the woman continued, the man flew into a fit of rage, rushing inside the family home and returning with a knife to make good on his threat. The woman's daughter immediately rushed her to the C.C. Nicholson Hospital, where she succumbed while receiving treatment. Her body is currently at the Jerrick's Funeral Home, awaiting an autopsy. Following the stabbing, the man fled the scene and was discovered in the bushes a few feet away from the house, sporting an apparent self-inflicted wound to the neck. He was taken to the Georgetown Public Hospital, where he is presently under police guard. Investigations are ongoing. For Globespan 24x7 News, I am Shakima Day.
Thanks, Shakima. Quite a sad story there. In an effort to raise greater awareness and combat the fight against domestic violence and suicide in Guyana, Caribbean Voice has announced plans to train persons in all 10 administrative regions to counsel people facing these social ills. More in this story.
Suicide and domestic violence reports have been increasing, and more NGOs along with other agencies have pitched in to support raising awareness on these social ills while doing their bit to help people get well. Psychologist Dr. Sixtus Edwards has been with Caribbean Voice from the beginning and has helped many young people simply because there's more to life.
Throughout the Caribbean I've traveled, and I see so many young people dying out through suicide, domestic violence. So I took it within me to continue that program with the Caribbean Voice.
In its 10 years of existence, Caribbean Voice has helped over 400 persons to overcome suicide and get out of abusive relationships. This organization is operated in several Caribbean countries. Managing Director Bibi Ahmad, a survivor of domestic violence, is now a staunch advocate that has been working to help address these social issues.
I personally have a passion where domestic abuse is concerned because I'm a survivor. And our campaign, we're hoping to launch a campaign either the last quarter of this year or early next year. Our campaign will coincide with our lay counselor program, whereby we're hoping to train community leaders or faith-based leaders about the warnings, the various issues of not only domestic abuse, all forms of abuse.
Previously, candlelight vigils have been held to remember those who were lost through suicide, and this year will be no different.
And this year is no different, but we're hoping this year that we'll be able to do it on a larger scale throughout the country. The intent is for the community itself to be able to deal with their social ills to a lesser extent. When the community leaders come together, just hypothetically, and a village, let's say, Kitty, let's use that for instance, and they come together and do this candlelight vigil, they'll be able to spread the awareness, they'll be able to see who would need help with their issues. So this year, candlelight vigil, we're hoping that the media can help us in promoting it. It's going to be countrywide, under the team working together to prevent suicide.
For Globespan 24x7 News, I am Kippany Jordan.
Thanks, Kippany. The Linden Hospital complex will soon be offering dialysis treatment and computed tomography or CT scanning to patients in that community and surrounding villages. Public Relations Officer of the complex, Tashana Alikok, told sections of the media that the facilities have already been prepared and the equipment are now expected to be set up. Open quote. All we are awaiting now is the necessary approval and confirmation from the Ministry of Public Health, and the service will be up and running sooner than later, end quote, she explained. According to reports, there are approximately 45 patients who are in need of regular dialysis living in Linden. This initiative will remove entirely the transportation costs for these patients. However, payment for these services will be done as required in Georgetown. The Valmiki College for Business and Technology, which aims at preparing students for corporate Guyana and the world at large, was today officially launched with a simple ribbon cutting ceremony. Globespan 24x7 News was there, and we filed this report.
Being in operation for more than 8 years, the Valmiki College for Business and Technology was today officially launched with a simple ribbon cutting ceremony. Executive member of the J. Sylvia Subraj Foundation, Bachai Narish, in his brief remarks, stated that the college will be a game changer for education in Guyana.
I'm making a predictive modeling that this school is going to be the game-changing school for Guyana. See, for too long we've been teaching, but we're not looking at the changes of the global economy and how things work. And today we need to do that, and this is where our foundation comes in helping with the Valmiki School to mold the children.
He further went on to highlight that they aim to prepare the students to handle the ever-expanding technological world.
We want to gear the students with what's happening in the marketplace. We want to change, to structure the mind of the student so that they can handle the technology and don't let the technology structure their mind.
Founder of the J. Sylvia Subraj Foundation, Dr. J. Subraj, while delivering remarks, stressed on the importance of ensuring that every child receives quality education.
Martin Luther King, Nelson Mandela, Mahatma Gandhi, and Mandela, who died like I think it was 10, 15 years ago, he said, I think it's less than that because Obama was in power. He said that education is the most powerful tool that can change the world. And I only read it like about a year ago, and I wrote it down in the card and I keep it in my pocket to keep as a constant reminder. We must always have the drive for educating our people.
Established in 2010 by Pandit Tiwari as a non-profit educational institution, the school offers a well-rounded curriculum aimed not only at academic excellence, but also to instill religious values in their students. Reporting for Globespan 24x7 News, Shakima Day.
A Jamaican national was on Wednesday sentenced to 5 years imprisonment after he pleaded guilty to trafficking 60 pounds of cannabis. He was also fined $10.8 million. Errol Brown, 46, was jointly charged with Shellyanne Pompey, 28, for allegedly having 27.318 kilograms of cannabis in their possession for the purpose of trafficking on August 19, 2019 at Eccles on the east bank of Demerara. Pompey pleaded not guilty and was released on $200,000 bail. Police prosecutor Gordon Mansfield said on the day in question, ranks from the police narcotics branch received a tip-off and conducted a search at the house. The officers found several parcels of cannabis in a large green traveling bag, along with a bulky plastic bag. Both Brown and Pompey were arrested and questioned before appearing in court to face charges. Pompey is expected to return for another court hearing on August 29, 2019. We'll take a short break. Do stay with us.
Amro's Travel Service is pleased to support Globespan 24x7 broadcasts. We provide travel solutions via our 4 locations in Trinidad. Chabonas at 665-3383, Valpa 645-1604, Port of Spain 625-0800, and San Fernando at 652-4789. Remember, when you travel, Amro's is the way to go.
This newscast is brought to you with the kind compliments of Globespan GT, with locations in Georgetown and Berbice. For all your travel needs, call Globespan GT at 327-1701, located at Lot 3A North Road, Georgetown, between Camp and Wellington Street. In Rose Hall, call 337-4287, and in New Amsterdam, call 333-6230. Call Globespan today.
We would like to ask all of our faithful viewers to kindly like and follow Globespan 24x7 Facebook page and subscribe to Globespan 24x7 YouTube channel to receive up-to-date notifications of when we are live. Globespan 24x7 has vacancies for full-time positions such as reporters, newscasters, and news editors. persons serious about joining a new and dynamic news team are asked to send their application to careers@globespantechnology.com.
Thanks for staying with us. We'll now take a look at our regional and international news. Regionally, vigilant nurses at the busy Spanish Town Hospital in St. Catherine, Jamaica, recently accosted a man who posed as a doctor for over a week in the accident and emergency department. The imposter apparently showed up for work one day late last month, donned in a doctor's uniform with the required medical gear, and proceeded to carry out his duties. Nurses who have been working at the institution for several years became suspicious following complaints from patients and questionable diagnosis from the doctor, which caused them to call the hospital security. The police were summoned, who took the fake doctor into custody. A source at the institution told the Sunday Gleaner in Jamaica that the hospital's administration was left baffled by the incident. Chairman of the Southeast Regional Health Authority, Wentworth Charles, said the matter is now under investigation and heads will roll. Internationally, migrant families who cross the southern border of the U.S. illegally could be detained indefinitely under a new regulation announced by the Trump administration. It replaces an agreement that set a limit on how long the government could hold migrant children in custody. The move, announced by Acting Homeland Security Secretary, is due to come into effect in 60 days. Mexico has expressed concern and said it would consider legal action. The Mexican Foreign Ministry said the detention of children and adolescents could be prolonged indefinitely given the continuing delay in attending to migration cases. Homeland Security officials believe that the time limits on the detentions of migrant families have driven the surge of Central Americans crossing the border into the U.S. this year. Other legal challenges are also expected. And now for a look at what's happening in sport. Members of the Young Warriors Cricket Club recently elected their executive body to run the club for the next 2 years. In an effort to ensure the club is properly managed, the East County Berbice Club is in the process of rebuilding after a few years. Career banker Imran Sakur was elected president, accountant Aubrey David vice president, Satyanand Sirpal treasurer, Shorish Danai secretary, and former national under-19 all-rounder Lyndon Austin assistant secretary treasurer. Former national youth pacer Kwesi Malte will take charge of the coaching. The club was recently readmitted by the Berbice Cricket Board after it was inadvertently left out of the Cricket Administration Bill. President of the Berbice Cricket Board, Hilbert Foster, witnessed the process. He congratulated the club for the move and wished them well, adding that it's time the club move further after producing their first international player. American sprinter Christian Coleman is on the investigation over concerns he may have missed 3 drug tests, according to the BBC Sport. If found guilty, he would face an automatic 1-year ban and would miss the World Championships in Qatar and the Olympic Games in Tokyo next year. He is alleged to have had 3 possible failures on the whereabouts system in the last year. Coleman is understood to be contesting at least one of those cases. Neither athletics governing body, the IAAF, the World Anti-Doping Agency, the U.S. Anti-Doping Agency, nor the Athletics Integrity Unit has commented on the situation, which was first reported by the Daily Mail. Coleman won the U.S. National Championships last month in a time of 9.99 seconds, having already set the fastest time of the year so far at 9.81 seconds in the Diamond League meeting at Stanford, California in June. The 23-year-old won the silver medal at the 2017 World Championships in London behind fellow American Justin Gatlin and has been a personal best of 9.79 seconds, making him the 7th fastest man in history. And that has brought us to the end of today's news. Before we go, here's a recap of our major headlines. PPP says elections can be held in October with claims and objections. The blacklist vendor stabbed to death, husband attempts suicide. Food prices increased by 8.6% according to the mid-year financial report. The Central Housing and Planning Authority working to address a backlog of house lots, says CEO. And Linden Hospital Complex to offer dialysis treatment soon. Thanks for watching Globespan 24/7 News. On behalf of myself, Samuel Suknandan, the news and technical team, until next time, do have a pleasant rest of the evening. Goodbye for now.